What's going on, good people? Rich here.
Ray P here. Welcome back to another episode of the Culture Garden Podcast. What's going on, Kieron?
Slow motion, man. Good to be here with you. We were just talking about your upcoming Beyonce concert. Obviously, this movie being the title of a Beyonce song, outside of being the Denzel movie, and just having a good general time, man. Talking about we got y'all.
We do. In fact, got y'all.
Yes, we got y'all, man. Make sure y'all subscribe to We Got Y'all, YouTube, anywhere you listen to podcasts. Phenomenal conversation about Raising Canaan.
Phenomenal conversation. I'm not going to hold y'all. And I feel like we say this almost every series, give or take 2 off the top of the dome. But these are some of my favorite conversations to have with you. And I don't know if there's an equivalent to a cinephile for TV, but I love TV, and I love discussing it with you. Season 4 of Raising Canaan is so good. Finale is this coming Friday. I'm anxious. I'm excited. And when we record, y'all just be ready. And if I come in here saying I told y'all so or eating crow, just be ready. Just roll with it.
I'm ready for it. And I take that compliment with love.
For sure.
Talking television with you is literally one of my favorite things to do. It doesn't feel like work or prep, especially when it's a show as good as Raising Canaan.
Yeah.
They've really been killing it. And I know a lot of people out there, you might have stopped at Power and say, oh, Power was goofy and Tariq was doing too much and Tommy, blah, blah, blah. I'm telling y'all, like, drop those stigmas. Incredible cast, incredible acting, incredible writing.
For sure.
Nothing that seems overly far-fetched or out of the realm of possibility. Speaking of far-fetched and out of the realm of possibility, wait till we get to today's episode. But please check us out on We Got Y'all. We appreciate you. Please remember to like, subscribe, share, comment, tell a friend to tell a friend. There will be spoilers and explicit content this episode. Episode 118.
Crazy.
Numbers on the board. You know what I'm saying? By the way, telephile.
Telephile. That makes sense.
Yep. Telephile. Telephile is the equivalent. But we're talking about Deja Vu. All right. Synopsis of this film. Anytime you go with Denzel, you can't go wrong. But we're going to have a very interesting conversation. Probably going to be more along the lines of last week's convo versus our traditional structure. We'll still have to talk about moments and things like that, but it's going to be a general conversation about the film because, well, we'll talk about it. Either way, synopsis of the film. After a ferry is bombed in New Orleans, New Orleans or New Orleans? What do you say, Rachel?
I, as a Northwestern Ohioan, say New Orleans.
It's New Orleans is really the answer, but
what's the answer?
New Orleans.
See, no, if you talk to somebody from New Orleans, they're gonna say we don't fucking say that.
What do they say?
New Orleans.
New Orleans. That sounds about right. Sounds about right.
New Orleans is some commercialized bullshit.
Yeah, they cloth napkins at Walmart. That's what right. I feel that. So after a ferry is bombed in New Orleans, I say New Orleans. An ATF agent joins a unique investigation using experimental surveillance technology to find the bomber, but soon finds himself becoming obsessed with one of the victims. This was my week to pick. Why did we pick this movie? Well, about Saturday afternoon, evening, I realized I never told Rachel what we were discussing, given about 3 days time to prepare. And I had a list of movies, about 3 of them, 2 Denzel movies, and then another one that we randomly discussed one time. Rachel had one request. I might have failed her.
Not for real. Not for real.
Not without knowing. Rachel had one request. She just said something good. Because I asked her, do you want to do something serious? Do you want to do something light? And her answer was something good. Like, it can be either one as long as it's good. I said, say less. And I picked Deja Vu. And we're joking a little bit, but it reminds me of the infamous Crooklyn episode when there's been a movie you haven't seen in so long and you kind of romanticize it. And it was funny because when I was doing my notes, thinking about classic or nah, I thought about like, yo, there's got to be a reason I don't watch this over and over. Because I was trying to think, like, when's the last time I watched Deja Vu? It might have been 5-6 years ago, but I haven't watched it a ton since it's been around since 06. So I thought it was a good conversation. It's an interesting movie. I'm not going to say it's a bad movie. I'm not going to say it's a great movie. It's interesting. And there's more thoughts that I have as we continue this conversation as to why it might not curl all the way over. Go ahead. What you about to say?
I was going to say two things. Number one, if you scroll back through the text, maybe I picked Deja Vu of the list. I might have, or maybe the messages came in at the same time.
You didn't. I told you Deja Vu, and you said, I gave you the 3 options, and you said yes. So technically, yes. But that's the one I was going to go with anyway, if I didn't give you options.
Yeah. So there's that. And then, too, shout out to us matching again.
I mean, we on the same wavelength. You know what I mean?
You can't teach coordination.
You can't teach this, man. It's just got to be present. It's just got to be around.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some stats real quick. Released in theater, I think it premiered technically November 20th in New York City, but its worldwide release was in theaters November 22nd of 2006. So it's a holiday movie. Not really, but Thanksgiving time.
Yeah.
Directed by the late Tony Scott. His 5th collaboration with Denzel Washington. He also directed Enemy of the State, The Last Boy Scout. Enemy of the State, I fuck with that. Last Boy Scout, Days of Thunder, Beverly Hills Cop 2, Top Gun, and a favorite of mine, True Romance. Denzel has also worked with Tony's older brother, Ridley Scott, twice on American Gangster and Gladiator 2.
Okay.
We're gonna play a fun game of this or that. We haven't played in a while, Rachel. We'll get to it later on. But the film was written by Bill Marsili and Terry Rossio. We'll talk about them here when we get into the origin. And Jerry Bruckheimer produced the film. Budget of an estimated, I believe, $75 million. And it made $180 million worldwide.
Big Denzel.
Shout out to him, man. And what's even crazier, 64 million of it was domestic. So over double of the budget was overseas. And they say we can't sell overseas. So that's kind of crazy. Shout out to them. 20.5 million the opening weekend. Opened up at number 3. This was one that I was expecting to open at number 1. I actually got on the in the box office was number 3 behind Happy Feet and Casino Royale, the James Bond movie. Top 5 was rounded out by Deck the Halls and Borat. And it was in theaters for 14 weeks, 3.5 months. It was in the top 10 for 3 weeks. It is currently streaming on Stars. After watching it, I kind of made a joke to myself like that makes sense. This one's not on Max.
Ooh, shame.
I fuck with this movie, y'all. I'm just fucking around.
For sure.
Just jokes. 6 nominations and 1 win. It won the International Gold Reel Award for the Nielsen EDI Gold Reel Awards. And also, of course, our good people at the Black Reel Awards.
Gang.
Paula Patton was nominated for Best Breakthrough Performance. This is her introduction. This is when we meet Paula Patton, Rachel. So,
oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. The cast.
This is her best performance.
Said this was? As much as I don't like this movie, not this movie, not Deja Vu, the movie I'm about to name, I might like her a little bit better. That's Jumping the Broom.
Did you say baggage claim?
No, hell no. Jumping the Broom is what I was going to say. Sometimes baggage claim is silly as hell. Let's just put it there.
We're going to do that for Romance Month.
Thought about that just to fuck with you, just to see. All joking aside, the Tyler Perry movie is on the horizon, y'all. I'm just telling y'all, it's in my soul to go with the Tyler Perry. And not one of the good ones. Some nonsense. I'm trying to look. Yeah, we saw Paula Patton. The first time we ever saw her was in Hitch with the pool. When Hitch went over there and did the shit with her. But outside of that, she was in Idlewild and she was in this the same year.
Okay.
So, yeah. And then we see her again in Just Right, Jumping the Broom, 2 Guns. She worked with Denzel again. Yeah, you might be right. About Last Night, Perfect Match. I don't know. Jumping the Broom might be it. But you onto something. She didn't really do a ton in this movie. Maybe that's your point. Let's get into the cast, man. We got Denzel Washington as ATF Special Agent Douglas Carlin. Paula Patton as Claire Couchever. Jim Caviezel, if I say his name correctly, I know, man. Carol Orstadt, the villain.
Mm-hmm.
We have Val Kilmer, the late, great Val Kilmer, R.I.P. FBI Special Agent Paul Prezara. Eric Alexander,
Queen.
legend.
She has a new podcast.
Yes, she does. Reliving
Single.
No, I have not listened to it yet, but I will be tapped in. Reliving Single. Please make sure you check that out. I love the love that it's getting.
For sure.
I think it had like 400 or something reviews before it even debuted an episode on Apple. Maybe even more than that. Yeah, just insane. Just let you know, people got a lot of love for In Living Single. The original Friends. Just want to make sure that's known and stated for the records. Friends stole their whole style, but that's a whole other conversation for another day. We have Adam Goldberg as Denny, Bruce Greenwood as Jack McCready, who was like the head guy. And then we also have Eldon Henson as Gunners. I just wanted to mention him because he plays Fulton Reed in the Mighty Duck movies. Shout out to all the Mighty Duck fans out there. He was also in O. Been in a lot of stuff, but you know him from Mighty Ducks. Movie Poster Hall of Fame, I'm going to say no. And then Rachel, classic or not?
You know what? No. But I'm going to say culturally relevant and significant because Deja Vu is dedicated, not only set in New Orleans, but also dedicated to New Orleans post Katrina.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if you don't remember what that time was like 20 years later, still a remembrance of everything that went on. So yeah, it is not a classic in that sense, but everything, I echo what you just said, Rachel. And it's also one of those where, as I kind of explained at the beginning, if you haven't watched it in a while, you're excited to watch it, and then you start it, and it's like, yo, I remember this differently.
Yeah.
It's almost like a Mandela effect if you're not careful, and you're waiting for it to pick up. And that's why even our conversation today, you have to take it as a whole. You can't even break it down into scenes like that. There's nothing that's awful about the movie, but there's also nothing that's memorable about the movie. There's not that one scene from Deja Vu that I'm looking up on YouTube to relive, or that one quote from Deja Vu that I quote all the time. It just doesn't exist, but it's still a very good movie, and it's a patient movie. It's funny because Jerry Bruckheimer, there was talks about, hey, should there be more time focused on explaining this time travel thing?
No.
And the whole thought process was, we're going to believe that our audience is smart.
Mm-hmm.
And not only are they smart, they're going to be fascinated with the things that we show them. Right. And time travel is what it is. It's one of those things, right? Butterfly effects, Endgame. I forget if that was Endgame or Infinity War with Marvel, where they did the time travel. You have this. There's a lot of films. Hot Tub Time Machine. There's a lot of time. And I'm not being funny. I fuck with Hot Tub Time Machine too. A lot of films that work with time travel. Back to the Future, obviously, is probably the GOAT of them all historically. Maybe not in watchability, but that's a whole nother conversation. I don't know, man. Time travel, I kind of just walk into it expecting that everything that I'm seeing is real. That's the only way I can mentally get past it.
Yeah.
You know what I
mean? And you know, I totally believe like a machine like this exists.
Anytime there's a movie or a television show that shows us some kind of technology, you better believe that technology has probably existed for 5 to 10 years. Like, I'm a strong believer in that. I don't even know if that's a conspiracy. I think that's just a solid, life has shown me that.
Yeah.
This was 2006 when they filmed this. Guarantee you this exists.
For somewhere. Sure. For sure.
The full capabilities, who knows? But this technology is real. Art always imitates life. Remember that, boys and girls. Yeah, but I should just watch this more as a Denzel movie that's in the back of my head. And I remember my first time watching it, maybe not exactly, but how I felt. I remember thinking like, oh shit, I like this. This is different. But that's really about it. And I think it's one of those films where it only has a certain watchability.
Yeah.
Deja Vu wasn't made to be seen 30 times in your life. It was made to be seen maybe 3. And that's really about it. Kind of like once you have movies that have once you get past the aha moment, so think Sixth Sense. Like once those reveals are done, think Usual Suspects. Once you get the big reveal in those films, that's it. That's one of the main driving forces of the likability of the film. Doesn't mean the rest of the film is bad. Doesn't mean you don't enjoy it. But the main aha factor is gone. It's not a surprise to you anymore. So that's my personal thoughts, my 2 cents. I don't know if you agree or disagree with that.
Yeah, you just made me think. I don't think I've seen Usual Suspects in about 15 years. I don't.
And that makes me think, I wonder what you would think if you watched it today.
If I watched it today, yeah, that would be very interesting. But you make a very interesting point in regards to Deja Vu, because I was excited when I did see it on your list. I'm like, oh yeah, love that movie. I remember it being very good, and it's not a bad movie. But when I sat down, the first time I rewatched in preparation, maybe I was just watching it in passing, maybe it was just on. But when I sat down to really put on some notes or to prepare some notes and whatnot, I was like, wow. It's taking us a long time to get to something, boy.
Right.
Even though it opens essentially with an explosion, it's like, all right.
100%.
We 40 minutes in. What's going on? And it's only a 2-hour movie.
You don't remember that part of it when you're first watching it.
For sure.
Trying to take notes on it, felt that 100%.
Yeah.
Felt that. And as you look at it, obviously they're setting it all up for the last 40 minutes, 30 minutes of the film. Like you're doing all this work just for the satisfaction. And I will say it is still satisfying when you see the dots connect.
Yeah.
You see certain things at the beginning of the film that are happening, the voicemail back to her or him returning a call, even leading up to him in her apartment and hearing himself on the voicemail to seeing when it actually happened in real time, air quotes with real time, because it's all
4 days.
Yeah, exactly. 4.5 days, 4 days, 6 hours, whatever they said. Very interesting, very unique, not a classic. I say all that to say that. Rachel mentioned, we'll get into the origin a little bit. First film shot in New Orleans post Katrina. They were literally 3 weeks away from shooting when Katrina touched down.
Wow.
Obviously, we know what happened there. Tony Scott looked at other locations, but New Orleans was just it. And I think 3 months after Katrina, they were able to go in. Dedication at the end of this film, right before the credits, to the brave souls who helped Katrina get back, or help New Orleans, get back from Katrina. And I don't even know how they pulled this off, really. Especially 3 months after, but they did. And they showed New Orleans. I'm sure they would have liked to make New Orleans more of a character. Have you ever seen Runaway Jury?
I've seen parts of it, but
Cusack and Gene Hackman.
Yeah,
that's shot in New Orleans, and they do a real good job of making New Orleans a character. New Orleans is so distinct. Like there's really no other city like it when you see it on film. Like there's no, you can look at a door opening and you can know that's New Orleans.
For sure.
It's very subtle, small details that don't take a lot, where other cities, you don't know where you are.
Yeah, you got to landmark me. Give or take like a New York, but I absolutely love New Orleans. It is one of my favorite cities in the world. I'll leave it there, but I love New Orleans.
There we go. So I mentioned the writers, Terry Rossio and Bill Marcelli. I think Terry he wrote one or some of the Pirates of the Caribbean. So he had like an Oscar nod and everything like that. They had started working on this. One of them had the idea on one sheet of paper, and they started collabing like almost through AOL Instant Messenger, just trying to put this together. They were in different cities, but co-wrote this film, which was interesting from the chemistry standpoint that they were able to do it. But they spent years on this, and they were upset. I think Terry, up until 2008, hadn't seen the film. They just said the film wasn't shot the way it was intended to be. And I always think about that and think it's interesting because they shifted that blame to Tony Scott and said he cared about the action part of it, where we wrote this under the premise of time travel, suspense. It started kind of with an idea of, I think a police officer's girlfriend's murdered, and he goes back in time to solve her murder or stop it from happening. And it kind of built from there into this.
Okay.
And Tony Scott wanted to focus on the action, other than the meaningful screenplay and the plot and everything that had to do with it. I mentioned the time travel concept. They even called in a Dr. Brian Greene from Columbia University. He read the script to find any holes. I guess he studies, I don't even know what you would call that, studying time travel, but he studied it and said, if you're somebody who accepts time travel to be real, then there's no holes in this.
Okay.
And the whole script got switched up because Tony Scott was like, nah, I don't care about that. I want an action movie. I don't care about this. Tony Scott even quit the film.
Oh, wow.
Because of the back and forth between them and the writers. And it took Denzel to, they did a rewrite on the script.
Mm-hmm.
And Denzel read it, and he's the one that had to go find Tony Scott and say, nah, I need you back on this film because it's much better. And then he made him promise him that you will not quit this film again. Like, we're going to finish this through. So has a little bit to do with all of that. But yeah, I always wonder what the original film would have looked like, because it does kind of jump around from here to there. And there are some things where you just like, all right, but you accept it because it's about time travel. The whole plot is all right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Bless that.
Absolutely. Let's play some this or that.
Okay.
We're going to play this or that with the Scott brothers. All right.
Okay.
I mentioned Denzel has collabed with both of them, Tony and Ridley, a total of 7 times.
Okay. I'm ready.
This is one of those films. We'll start with Deja Vu or Unstoppable.
Deja Vu. Unstoppable.
Here's one that I know you fuck with on the low key. Deja Vu or the Taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3.
Taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3.
I say that's one of your low key joints. Deja Vu or Gladiator 2.
Gladiator 2. You know I love Gladiator 2.
No doubt. Deja Vu or Crimson Tide.
Ooh. Crimson Tide. Deja Vu.
It's been a long time since I watched Crimson Tide.
Yeah.
So I need to go back.
Hurricane the other day.
Yeah, I need to go back and rewatch that. Gene Hackman, I mentioned him earlier in Runaway Jury. He's in this film with Denzel.
Mm-hmm.
Funny story. Quentin Tarantino did some random rewrites.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if y'all know Denzel pulled up on Quentin Tarantino on set. Yeah. So he came in, and if you watch that movie, you're gonna be able to know it because it kind of doesn't fit with the rest of the movie.
And what movie?
Crimson Tide.
Crimson Tide. Okay.
So one thing about Tarantino, if you're familiar with him, he's known, and rightfully so, for his dialogue. Like just the dialogue and things that are said in the film. Not the dialogue you're thinking about. We're going to talk about that here in a second. But just overall regular conversations that take place in the film that you would imagine someone sitting next to you would have. Kind of made a film more authentic, more real. He also places himself and writes dialogue that many would deem unnecessary.
For sure.
Especially coming from him. Most of them racially motivated.
For sure.
And there is a scene towards the end of Crimson Tide, which they're talking about horses, and there's some racial implications in this script. And they'll say, you know what, bruh, and pulled up on that nigga on the set and said, what's up? Not only this, but what's up with you using nigga all the time in your movies? And Quentin was on something, hey, let's talk about this in private. And Denzel was like, we're going to talk about it. We're talking about it right here, right now. What's up?
Yeah.
And funny how life works. They had a long standing, I won't say they had a beef, but Denzel didn't fuck with him. And turns out that his daughter ended up working on a Tarantino movie.
Oh, wow.
And he let the grudge go and just kind of say, you know what? My bad. I let that shit go. It's in the past. You can't hold on to that stuff forever.
He probably didn't say my bad because what would he?
Nah, yeah, it definitely is not my bad. But not my bad. But pretty much, I'm not gonna hold on to this forever. And
yeah,
life is full circle, and he said that. Like, it's funny how life works. So yeah, a little backstory on Crimson Tide if y'all didn't know. Probably the only person in Hollywood to pull up on Quentin, like, yo, chill with that nigga shit.
Shout out to Denzel.
And I'm not even gonna ask you the last two because I know your answers: Man on Fire, American Gangster. I'm sure you're taking both of those
for sure.
Deja Vu. Are you taking Man on Fire or American Gangster? Head up.
Insert Jeopardy theme music.
Nah, the pause is understandable. The pause is understandable because I have no idea what my answer would be.
I love Man on Fire. Crazy. But I love American Gangster. And I think about being in college during American Gangster.
Yeah.
And the nostalgia. I mean, I guess we was in college during Man on Fire too, but I think about
we was in high school.
Was that 04?
Late high school, yeah. I think that was 04.
Yeah, so I might have to take American Gangster.
It's tough.
But it's tough. If you ask me tomorrow, it might be Man on Fire. But I'm gonna go American Gangster.
See, today I'm going Man on Fire, but if you ask me tomorrow, it might be American Gangster. It's just that tough. Both of those movies, man. What a run!
For sure.
What a run that our dog had right there in them late '90s, early 2000s.
Big Zale.
Yeah, absolutely. First experiences, Rachel.
I honestly don't remember the first time I saw Deja Vu. I know I didn't go to the theater to see it, so I would only have to assume that I caught it on an HBO, Showtime. It's streaming on Stars now. So maybe I caught it on the premium channel rerun, but I have no idea my first time seeing this, but I don't think it was in the theaters.
Part of me feels like this was in the theater. I think I did see this in the theater. I don't remember my first time specifically. I was really trying to search my brain for it, but I will say I do remember the first moment that I finished the movie, and I was like, okay, then I like this. I like that it was different. I like when everything started connecting, as I mentioned earlier, and I appreciated it for what it was. Like I said, completely different watch from watching it in the future. But that first watch, understandable. If you haven't seen this before, by all means, all the jokes that we're saying, watch it for that first time. You'll get it. And it might be a lot to kind of keep connected, but here we are. So yeah, shout out to Deja Vu. Let's talk about the film itself, Rachel, and let's just do it. I don't know if you have scenes written down. I have some like bullet points of places to navigate is written down.
I have
just thoughts to share.
Let me tell you, in regards to scenes, I have the opening, but that's like the first 30 minutes low key.
Yeah. That's how it works with this.
Yeah, Doug actually flashing the pointer into the screen and the explanation thereof after, and then the last his transport into 4 days ago, and then just the last 20 30 minutes. That's it.
That's fair. So we'll drive the ship that way and kind of have the conversation. We'll start at the beginning. Before we do, I'm curious to know if you knew this technology existed and it was available to you, like Doug, would you want to partake? Would it have to be something this like catastrophic?
It would have to be something like major, but not for real. I don't want to play with that shit.
Yeah. Would you want to look back at what people were doing 4 days ago?
No.
Fair.
Unless it like directly impacts me. No.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to. There are some, they talk about it. There's some creeper elements to that.
For sure.
100%. So we get the intro and the opening of this movie. The setup, obviously, why are we here? Why are we at the theater? The events right up before the bombing of the ferry. So obviously it's tragic. And that leads us to our why. And we meet Special Agent Doug Carlin of the ATF. We know he's skilled at what he does. He knows exactly where to look. He's climbing on bridges, looking underneath places. He has his insight. He's telling the group of officers from different departments exactly what they're looking at. This is a terrorist attack. murder investigation, all of that. Who's in charge? That scene. We see Doug in the video in the office watching the video. And it's trippy because we know that they're doing things at the beginning of the movie that we're going to see at the end of the movie. You just don't know it at the time when you're watching it. So all of that is just kind of trippy. The woman washes up at 10:42 a.m. You mean 11:42? No, 10:42. And that's when he goes to the coroner's office. He sees Claire for the first time. Rachel, this is... The writers are very explicit about this being partly a love story. Do you see it in that light?
It's not a love story. I understand how they got there, how they got to the kiss because of the dramatics of it all and the suspense, but it didn't have to be. It really could just be a hero, a hero or a hero. No, yeah, a hero saving the world. You know, it didn't have to be that, but early 2000s, beautiful woman, Denzel Washington. Of course, there's a love interest twist to it.
Yeah, it's funny because I never would have thought, if I never researched this movie preparing for this episode and seen that multiple times over about the love interest and even the synopsis, like he becomes obsessed. Like I didn't see it like that watching the film. I can understand the desire to want to save a life, but I never looked at it as he was solely like so infatuated and so in love that he had to go back and do all of this.
Yeah, because your first time seeing her, she was dead.
Yeah, and that's the thing that turns out.
Type shit. That's why I don't buy it. I don't buy that, but I understand because really, and for me, it's more about avenging your partner, even though, or trying to prevent your partner's death beyond this girl. Like, yes, there's a beautiful young Black girl who's been maimed and killed. Howsoever, it's not the driving force. Maybe you're just not that in love with no corpse.
That's what I'm saying. I just don't see you looking at a corpse and being infatuated with it. We know he gets the phone call and he knows it's Claire. He says her name there. That's just not enough for me. It's not enough.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's just not. I get where they're going. It just seems forced.
For sure.
It seems forced. They could have left it out and maybe going a little bit different direction, but it is what it is. Had to get your thoughts on that because I'm like, is this a love story? Because I don't see it. Maybe Rachel does.
No, and I'm a lover.
Just straight up. That navigates us into Doug starting his own investigation, looking at Claire's apartment. Once again, he sees the blood. He sees that you can save her on her refrigerator. He hears the voicemails from Beth. He hears the voicemail from himself. You know something's going on as a viewer, but you don't really know what's up. You know, it's a little bit wacky. That's he's talking to himself, but that's the same number he called earlier in the movie. And then I say it picks up when he joins that special investigation. Even then, Rachel, is a little bit far-fetched for me. Like, you just walking up on him, yeah, we got the special investigation unit that's doing all this. Once again, what do you go to the movies for? You go to be entertained.
You go for entertainment.
Can I turn my brain off and say this doesn't make sense? Sure.
Yeah, but remember when he's at the ferry, I believe it's at the second investigation, quote unquote, before he realizes that his partner's car, or maybe it's the same one, the number one special agent, I can't remember his name.
Val Kilmer Pizarro?
No, not Val Kilmer, the other one.
The dude that gave the press conference?
Yeah, he's talking, he's asking about him, okay, he's smart, he's a Marine, he's somebody that can be trusted with this hidden information because it is a terrorist attack. So that bulks up the reason, like, okay, this is somebody who's from here, he's a Marine, so you have that veteran aspect. He's an ATF officer, so he has the know-how and probably is able to keep a secret. So I think for me, that was them explaining the trust factor, like only you can prevent forest fires.
I get that, and that's fair. And obviously, the familiarity between Oklahoma City, right? We're literally at that point of life where there are a lot of people who don't even know about Oklahoma City and Timothy McVeigh. And they did take some similarities from that to Orstat, the character of Orstat. But once he joins that room and you see all this technology, you see the wires hanging, so it still feels real. And you're told we're able to look 4.5 days ago in the past. And we call it Snow White. And they're spinning it around and seeing different angles. Incredible acting by Denzel in that moment because he was all of us.
Yeah.
And Denzel always said that he felt that his character was the voice of the audience. And that makes sense because that's exactly how we would have been. Like, this is too much. Like, whoa, what do you mean?
Especially explain it to me. Don't talk science at me.
Yeah, explain it to me. Don't talk science at me, right? That confusion on his face, it really represented the audience and how I felt. Like, what do you, hold on, not even the technology, but how long has this been around? I got so many other questions now that I see something like this. It is eerie to look back at someone in the past and them starting to question, how legit is this? Can Claire see us? It looks like she's looking at us. We're the only ones there. What's going on? We see Doug start to question this whole alternate reality. Is this real time? Is it not? And that kind of goes into what you said, Rachel. I'll let you take it over. Probably the most memorable moment, the one thing I do remember from this film, regardless of how long I watched it, was that laser pointer scene.
For sure. For sure. So Doug, I keep saying Denzel, but so Doug flashes his laser pointer at the camera, at the lens, directly into Claire's sight line, into her home. And she obviously, she sees it, but doesn't quite know what she's looking at. He asked the team, does she know we're here? Can't she see us? Clearly she did. And, they're trying to argue with him, well, she's dead. No, she saw this flashing red light, essentially. So is she dead? Like this chair I'm going to throw into this screen? This is dead. It no longer works. Or is she alive? And then so we get really the explanation of what this system is. There's speculation that maybe they can see us, but we really don't know. And so here you are, have just proven an argument or a debate for us. And so now that sort of catapults us into the next course of action, which is Denzel shifting the note to through time and space, which ends up being the catalyst for his partner being killed. And then later, after the investigation is over, quote unquote, with him being able to put himself through the time travel and save the day in true Denzel fashion.
Yeah, and what's funny? You're talking about the laser point scene. That's the only moment in this entire movie where he has that classic Denzel moment.
For sure.
He has the King Kong ain't got shit on me. This ain't no bank robbery. Like that. Normally there's some kind of expressive outburst. In this film, not really. It was really when he just said, all right, trying to get everybody's attention.
Yeah.
Other than that, it was pretty cool, calm, level-headed.
For sure. Very cerebral.
Yeah, very cerebral. Absolutely. Absolutely. And they explained it as time folding on itself. They mentioned it as a bridge, and Claire's apartment's at the other end of the bridge, which explains why you were able to see the laser pointer. Once again, at this point, if you're believing in time travel, you might as well believe everything they're throwing at you. Doug realizes that there's more to that story than what he's been told. It was already tough to grasp with the idea of this whole machine. Now there's more. I knew somebody was lying to me, which I can understand. The government.
Absolutely.
There's got to be more to the story. Kilmer's character, and I keep mispronouncing his last name, so I'm gonna stop. But he even said, "That's all I'm authorized to tell you." Yeah. He didn't say that's all I know. That's all I'm authorized to tell you.
That's it.
You know what I mean? Is she alive? Is she dead? I love that scene. Am I asking a hard question? Literally trying to get an answer. And to your point, Minuti's death, we already know happened.
Yeah.
To the scientist point who were in there, I think Denny mentioned it. You can't go back and change anything. I think Doug even had a line. What I've done once, I've done before. Or I'll do again. Something along those lines, which is, the method in which it happened might have changed, but this was going to happen either way.
Regardless.
Yeah, but the weight that would carry if I knew that my partner picked up a note that he shouldn't have been looking at, I don't care how it happens. Like, that doesn't make me feel any better.
Yeah.
It's going to happen regardless. So it's kind of tough, but it kind of, like you said, I only have a couple more things, and that's the car chase with the goggles. And
For
obviously
sure.
the ending, which is about 20, 30 minutes, the last 30 minutes when you put it all together. I'm saying that right now just to emphasize one thing. It's rare when I don't enjoy the face-to-face sit-down between the protagonist and the antagonist. It's usually a scene I'm waiting on. And this scene just didn't do it for me.
Yeah.
Like his reasoning, and maybe we didn't get enough of. Go ahead.
You took the words. That's exactly it. Even with Orsted talking about being a patriot, it wasn't enough of a reason. Okay, you got denied from armed services. Clearly your ass is crazy. So
he's a Klan member, for those who don't know. He's doing a Klan salute.
Right.
Yeah. So he's definitely fitting the bill.
So it wasn't enough, I think. But I guess when you're off your rocker, that's all you need.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, it wasn't enough. I enjoyed. There was one line. You better have some KY. You're gonna need it in regards to Orstat's line about needing some divine intervention.
You know what that reminded me of, right, Rachel?
What?
Inside Man, and that thing you're sucking on, it's not a pina colada.
Very much that. Very much reminiscent of that. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
now that I'm thinking, it wasn't a good back and forth. And maybe because it was so calm, but the dialogue wasn't strong enough, because you don't have to need a you can't handle the truth back and forth if the dialogue is strong, you know. And so I think maybe that is why it didn't curl all the way over for you.
I would agree. And it makes me think of the writers. And I wonder if that's something that they had tightened up a little bit more, but it was changed because they wanted to make it more of an action film. I don't know. But that's pretty interesting. Going to what does actually interest us. Once again, far-fetched. It's far-fetched for me to believe that Doug, not that he wouldn't do it or try it, but just knows how to go in and work these goggles and technology.
That's why he
strikes me as the type of person that says, fuck it, where's the goggles? I'm about to go catch them. We ain't losing sight of them. I get that. That's some tricky technology.
For sure.
Also very fascinating. And it makes you question where you are in time. And what I mean by that is as they're getting closer to the barn or the storage area where he's kind of planning everything, and we see his car, we see Doug's car in the rear. Is that just air at the moment? Like, what is it that's actually there? There's sounds that are made where Orstat's looking back. We saw Claire looking through when she heard something. Is anybody there? It's just hard to really wrap your head around what's what. And where are you in time? Is this happening now? Is this 4.5 days ago? Like, where are we in the thick of things? I'm not sure if you had
We're in the middle.
Yeah, I don't know if you had any issue keeping up with it, but I did a little bit.
Not really. I just took it up to the movie magic.
Yeah, fair. That's what you have to do. Yeah. So that car chase with the goggles, I just like the technology and the fact that they can do both. He's really trying to drive in real time versus driving 4.5 days ago.
Yeah. The technology was in the goggle, in the one eye, which was crazy because you really couldn't see out the other eye. So how he even was really able to navigate is crazy. I've never had a patch, but
it was insane. She said never had a patch. No, hey, that's some wild shit. I say the last 30 minutes of this film,
for sure,
my favorite part of the entire film. It's the reason why I'm not down on this film. Like, it's the reason why I'll joke about it, but I'll continue to watch it because it does pay off. It does pay off when you get to it. Excuse me. I mentioned earlier, Doug goes back in time. So you have him, and they have the precautions of chances are. And Denny told him beforehand, And I appreciate the character of Denny. I'll just say it right now. It's my scene stealer. Not a ton of different people, but Denny, played by Adam Goldberg, he was the one who kind of had the same thought as Doug, where I can't believe this is getting shut down.
Yeah.
I can't believe that we found the bomber, so that's over. What about Claire? He knew that Doug was going to be calling.
For sure.
He said it. I expected this phone call. And they talked about, hey, remember, when you get there, you're going to be flatlines, EMT table. I did say this. If there was anybody to believe something that random, I would say it's a doctor. I'm sure the miraculous things that doctors have seen or heard can probably make it past, or where that's not the craziest thing that might have happened. This random man just popping up flatlining, especially in the middle of surgery when you're supposed to be locked in, unless you like old girl playing with the bodies.
If it was in the ER, they should have put him in the ER, not in that operating room.
That's what it should have been. I don't know if they could have controlled it. Once again, Rachel, movie match.
For sure. Exactly. Where did you come from?
Yeah, but he told him, like, listen, there's a good chance that you from the past gets a phone call and you're looking at yourself, and that might mess everything up.
Yeah.
But we see he's able to get that ambulance truck, which once again, we're starting to connect the dots. We saw that ambulance truck burn in the burn barn. We didn't know where it came from. Now we do. Okay, now we know he's trying to save Claire because she got kidnapped. We see the fight between Claire and Orstat and the scratch on the face and him trying to remove her fingers before Doug gets there. The "you can save her" on the refrigerator, the blood and the fingerprints in her apartment, the voicemail not just from himself, but the voicemail from Beth and him able to explain it, or Blair, excuse me. All of that kind of connected. And honestly, I'll say the fairies, you knew it was going to happen. He's going to save the day.
For sure.
He's going to make sure that everything's good. The only thing we didn't expect was we thought he blew up in that bomb, and then we see, I was about to say Creasy. We see Doug come back through. I wish Creasy would have walked back through.
Yeah.
I don't. Do you chalk it up to movie magic, Rachel, or do you understand the time sequence between the bomb going off and Doug coming back?
I
think the 4.5 days thing is really messing with me.
I think that with the bomb, once they get into that water and it's heading third, it's a reset.
So
that's the only thing that makes sense.
So does the special team of Denny and Gunner and Val Kilmer's character, Eric Alexander, do they know what happened?
I don't know. Maybe it's all Deja Vu. Maybe none of it happened.
Is there, I guess what I'm asking is there a version of them that's 4.5 days in the future?
Oh, probably.
See, that's a mind trick. I need a little bit more.
What? No, you don't.
No, Here's why. I don't need a little bit more just as a regular viewer. Doing the research, hearing from the writers that they literally said they spent years on this. They had 0 plot holes, and it all would have made sense and knew that changed. I wonder what their intended version was. That's what I mean when I say it. I don't need any more as far as watching the movie. It is what it is at this point. Like I said, what we do here at the Culture Garden, this movie was made just to be watched. It wasn't made to be discussed and dissected, whatever the case is. But it is certainly interesting to think about because it is a mind fucking away.
Yeah. In my mind, I attribute to once he frees her, once he saves her life, because that is the life-altering thing that happens, despite the earlier conversation that if they did then, they did now, or it's already happened. Once he saved her life, that's the shift that snaps them back, because that's the thing that changes about, other than the timeline, that's what changes. So she's not dead. So now here we are. I've prevented all these other casualties, and now this is it. I am an ATF agent in current day who comes to who's called to the scene. So I still got to get to the scene.
So is she the only one that remembers?
Yeah. She's the only one who had intimate knowledge of him now. So, because that's where it ends. Now, if the movie was another 20 minutes, God, If it was another 20 minutes and Doug is on the ferry talking to Val Kilmer and whatever, they might be like, but she's the only factor. So that she's the only one that matters as far as the remembrance. Everybody else just happy to see their kids that were dead 4 days ago.
I guess the only thing that's tripping me up is the future versions. Like when they send Doug back, that's in the future. They're sending him back in time. And I'm wondering, in their world, everything has already happened. There is no such thing, unless that's what you're talking about when you said it reset for everybody.
Yeah, I think it does. I think it's reset. Okay, totally.
We'll roll with it. We'll roll with it. I ain't got nothing else to roll with, so we'll go with that. And obviously the Deja Vu moment at the end.
You ever had Deja Vu?
Absolutely.
Okay.
100%. Have you?
Oh God. Yes.
Yeah. And not just the stereotypical Deja Vu, like the real Wednesday 2:14 in the afternoon, just randomly stopping my tracks. Like, hold on. You know what I mean? And it's just one of those feelings. It's hard to explain. So, yeah, that's all I really have to say as far as the action and the activity of the film, as far as the moments and the scenes. You got anything else to add to
that? No, that's all for me.
We said it's not the most quotable film. It's not the most quotable film, but did you have any quotes? I have 4.
I said, explain it to me. I said, explain it, not talk science at me. You better have some KY. You're going to need it.
Fair. I had one of yours, which is the explain it to me line. When they're asking Doug about his partner, Munetti, were you close? He said, yeah, well, close enough to get on each other's nerve. That's a real thing.
Yeah.
So I appreciated that line. I'll speak slow so those of you with PhDs in the room can understand.
I like that.
And then lastly, I need more cowbell, just because the famous Saturday Night Live skit. If you know, you know. But not quoting this movie, not really running to see different things. Maybe the laser pointer scene, but without the rest of the movie, it's no context. So you kind of need to digest this as 1 2-hour and 7-minute thing, 16 minutes, however long it is. Scene stealer, I mentioned mine. Adam Goldberg as Denny. Who was yours?
Erica Alexander, just because when I first saw this, we hadn't seen her.
Yeah.
Even though now, since then, she's been popping back up, thankfully. But yeah, just nostalgia and recency bias.
Fair. I can definitely understand that. Anything that bothers you? I feel like if we had anything in this category, then the whole episode wouldn't exist.
For sure. So I'll skip that until wouldn't let that happen to me. More so, I have sold things on Facebook Market. I sold my old bedroom suit, dresser and shit. That's the only thing I made them people come get from my house. But I called one of my homeboys to come be here while said strangers were in my damn home. That's anybody else, I'll meet you at the Harris Teeter. You're not coming to my fucking house. Harris Teeter, I might go alone. I know it's people in the parking lot. You're not coming to my fucking house unless I have somebody else there with me.
Even then, it might be a stretch, but I feel you on that.
Put the heater on the island just so.
You better put the gun on the table just so people know what time it is. You got guns in this crib. Stop playing with me.
And this ain't the only one. Just kidding.
Yeah. Thug life. I will say this. I don't have anything that bothers me, but I will ask you this. Is going back in time to save your life a come see about me moment?
I mean, it might be the ultimate. Although we're talking about this not being a romance movie, not only time travel, risking your life, danger, a little violence, bravery. Yeah, that's definitely a coming scene about me. I want to make sure I live.
I would say so. Absolutely.
Still a kiss.
Wow. Flatline. So just so I can still a kiss, I flatlined.
Ooh.
Just to make sure you was good.
You want to die for me?
Literally put it on the line. Like, die for you.
right hand.
Any interest in what they're doing? Any interest if they ever got together? No, exactly. Which is why I don't say it. That's why I say it's not a romance movie, because I don't care what happens with it.
If they did, they had a nice long talk on the way to the station, and while she looked longingly at him and tried to explain this impossible thing to him.
He was in love with her dead corpse, so he was definitely with it in real time. They probably had a time bond.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably started out as some cool shit and then ended up, one of them nights get a little too late. One extra glass of wine is poured.
That's my favorite kind of nights.
I'm just saying, man. Maybe a little rain in the background. Maybe rain outside. Just saying, maybe that happened. We just wrote the sequel, y'all. Rachel.
There we go. Credit A.
That's pretty much it. Any actors from The Wire? No. Did you do When Let That Happen to Me or Things That Bother You?
Both.
All in the same. I don't have. I do have a little bit of trivia.
Okay.
So time travel films running the family. Obviously, John David Washington had Tenet.
Yes.
2020. So just want to highlight that. Deja Vu, Tenet, both time travel. There was the original draft of this film. Right, we talk about how they play it to certain test audiences. The original draft of this film, when Doug first saw Orstat's face, like once he realized who that person was, Doug said Jesus, and the whole audience laughed because obviously Jim Caviezel played Jesus Christ. It was a joke. And Tony Scott was like, "Hell no, we ain't keeping this," and he took it out the versions just to make sure that people didn't get a little tongue-in-cheek action, because that's not what that wasn't his intent. He didn't even know he did it. So one of those things.
So funny as fuck.
Yeah, he is. For all you Marvel fans out there, we talked about the goggle chase scene. One of those, so they used I think 4 or 5 Hummers in total for that scene. One of those Hummers was used in the opening of Iron Man. And you know exactly what scene I'm talking about. And when we first see Tony Stark, you don't, Rachel. Those out there who watch Marvel do. And then the most interesting piece of trivia. I forget what news outlet he was talking to. Do I still have it up? You funny as hell, Rachel. I just want to let you know that.
Bentleys and Hummers, little daddy, we bout that.
I think he was talking to About Entertainment. And they asked him, "Have you ever had deja vu?" He said he has. Do you want to hear about his deja vu?
Absolutely.
So Mr. Washington says he had one today at the time of the interview. He said, "I was going to get the mail out of my mailbox and I'm walking around. I'm out on the street by my front gate and I got a feeling that somebody's going to drive by. I felt like this happened before. So I just stood there." He said, "Next thing I know, a white truck comes up. He backs up. It's Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy is sitting there telling me, 'Hey, Dreams Girls is going well. This Jennifer Hudson girl is still in the show.'" He said, literally, that was my deja vu moment. He said, I knew somebody was going to come by. He said, it came by. It was Eddie Murphy. Just randomly talked to me on the street about Dream Girls and Jennifer Hudson.
Amen.
Shout out to Denzel.
Shout out to Denzel, Eddie, and Jennifer.
Yeah. And he said it was like a 10-second. He said from the time he said this feels familiar, that 10 seconds later, that's when it happened. So it wasn't like something he was sitting out there for 5 minutes or so.
Yeah.
It happened instantaneously. So yeah. We get to the end of the episode, Rachel, where we rate the film. Let me ask you. I don't know if I've ever done this. What do you think this film is rated by the average viewer? Out of 10.
6.8.
7.1. Average viewer rates this film as 7.1 out of 10. Rachel, is that too high, too low, or just right?
I was gonna go 7, so a little high, I guess, but mostly right.
I'm gonna stay. Yeah, that's mostly right. We'll say it's just right, and I'm gonna say just right too. Similar to Jumping the Broom, I mentioned that earlier this episode. Not the biggest fan of that film, but any movie with Angela Bassett, there's no such thing as too high. Same thing with Denzel. Maybe Ricochet or Virtuosity, because those movies are not good. But outside of that, I'm gonna give it 7.1. Cool. It's gonna be another. I might be knocking on 50 door by the time I watch this movie again. I ain't gonna hold you.
It'll be a minute.
Yeah,
it might be on. If it's on TBS, I might not change the channel.
Yeah, I'll keep it on the back. Rose, bouquet, or the whole damn garden? What you going with?
I give it a rose. Maybe some filler, some carnations, baby's breath.
Yeah, I feel like that's about right. I don't think I've given out a rose. I think this might be my first rose, and it feels weird. But it's not that great of a movie.
Yeah, bless that.
Yeah, I might. About 6 months ago, I watched Two Guns.
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to think, like, would I watch Two Guns or Deja Vu? Two Guns is also not a great movie, but it is more entertaining.
Because it's more entertaining. Yeah.
Either way, shout out to Deja Vu. Shout out to all y'all. Shout out to Beyonce.
Period.
Which Rachel's going to go see. Maybe she performs Deja Vu for you. When you think the last time Beyonce performed that song?
I think she does perform Deja Vu, or at least there's yeah.
Really? Uh-huh. That's like one of the lost Beyonce singles.
No, because I'm almost positive I saw a clip of Blue doing the
Blue put that on the playlist then. Blue put that on the set list.
Much like Diva. So yeah.
Blue put that on the set list. Like, bro, sure. I'm not. Blue probably said, I'm not doing nothing on this tour unless you put Deja Vu on.
Shout out to the manager.
Like you said. just like Diva. But Rachel, I hope you have a great time at the concert.
Yeah.
That song came out the same year as this movie, didn't it?
Deja Vu was on B-Day, which is 2006.
Yeah. So same year.
It was B-Day was the soundtrack to Fallout 6.
Fallout 06. What a time to be alive. You just had to be there, y'all.
Oh, you had to be there.
We appreciate all y'all out there. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, leave some input, like the comment. Like the post on YouTube. Also, said it at the top of this episode. We got y'all. You're in the television. Please, we got some classic material over there. I'll go ahead and say it. Just
for sure.
Shows that we've covered over the past couple years that are really good. We're gonna try to figure something out for when Raising Kanan ends. This weekend's the last episode of the season finale. Maybe y'all can help us out with a new show. Not really much on the horizon that we're looking to dive into episodically. But even if we just do a discussion of what we're watching, all of that. So just make sure you subscribe.
Yeah, let us know. I watched Forever last weekend while I was.
What you think? I've been seeing a lot of good feedback. I heard it's cute. Like
it's cute. It's good. Shout out to Mara Brockakill. She has not lost her touch, and I know, and it's a coming of age story of a first love. These two high schoolers who fall in love. To be honest, without spoiling too much, their sex in it. I don't want to see teenagers. I just don't want to see that. But and I understand that is a part of many a high schooler's life is finding out about the birds and all of the bees. But I don't know. I think that there's a way to do that. And maybe I'm thinking too much into it. People are so fucking sick. And even though the characters are adults, I just don't want to think about teenagers.
That's fair.
Get it in like that, But shout out to them. Other than that, it's such a small part of the movie. So I don't want to make it seem like
it's a series, right?
It's a series. It's a series, but they drop it all together.
Okay, gotcha.
So I don't want to seem like the whole thing is about that because it's not. It's actually really, really, really in depth. Shout out to legend Wood Harris, who I want you to watch it. Maybe we'll talk about it briefly after you do. Or over on We Got Y'all. Also, We Got Y'all pod. Shout out to Wood Harris as a father.
I've been saying he's been
just seeing him navigate a son in 2018 and navigate his wife's behavior. It is very interesting.
Shout out to based in 2018.
Yeah, it's based in 2018.
Got you. Yeah, he getting Uncle Phil type of love.
He is. He was masterful, to be honest. You see this successful Black man, very involved Black father, so he's not so entrenched or engulfed in his business that his children miss out on him. He's very present, and he's insightful. He has forethought. He's able to navigate his. He has two sons. His son, but specifically, it's about the older. His son against the wiles of the mother, and it shows, how sometimes mothers do too much, and just the important need of a father, especially at this coming of age time and growing up and being realistic and showing up for your kids. It's absolutely beautiful. I will probably watch it again.
I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have a discussion about it. Shout out to Jaden Daniels. And with that being said, we'll see y'all next week. Episode 119 next week. Y'all be cool. Y'all be cool.
Peace. Shout out to school.
Shout out to school. Shout out to school.
Bye, y'all.
Yeah.